I'm nervous. Rodney, are you nervous?
You know, no, I'm actually
Good.
not.
Yeah.
Nervous.
Yes, Rodney. Yeah.
We can
Amazing.
jump right in.
Okay.
Woo! Okay, okay. Okay, wait.
So
Okay.
this one is for Rodney, but of course I welcome Zach to jump in. You used to go by Atlas, and now your artist name is Rodney Chrome. So I want to know how this project kind of shifts away from Atlas and introduces us to Rodney Chrome.
Right. So before I made it to NYU and started like my freshman year of college, I was going through like this shift of like who I wanted to be, and like I wanted to be more honest with myself and go along the lines of like my actual government name, and kind of like because my music at the time that I was making and still am now making, it's very blunt, it's very honest, and it's very much like a retrospect of myself. So I was
Mm,
like, I want to be as true as possible to this. And
right,
so that meant stripping away Atlas and coming up with something that really did mean something to me on a universal level. So coming into the play of Rodney Chrome, it was like it had my name and then it also had something on the end where it just kind of encompassed my whole sound. And that's kind of how I fell into it.
yeah, yeah. So Zach, when Rodney brought the project to you, did he explain a little bit about this transition? What was your introduction to the project, and what really made you say yes?
Good question. What made me say yes? I was hoping he would say yes to me, to be honest. Like we met in a general education class at NYU,
Mhm.
and then I think Ronnie, is that correct? Like in a couple of days, I was in the studio. We got lunch when we met, and then like the next day, I was in Brooklyn with him in one of the NYU studios, and he
Wow.
played me the full Queer Pressure project.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And like no one's ever done that for me before. It's like he just hit play, and I was
Mhm.
just sitting and listening. And then there was a conversation after where I was like, does he want me to do this? And then I think Rodney was thinking the same thing, was like, does Zach want to do this? And I think we
Exactly.
had like a good 30-minute awkwardness of like, wait, so are you saying you want to work with me on
Mhm.
this?
Mm-hmm.
And once we got over that, it was just, I think, like a very long drawn out conversation over like days and weeks and months about like, who is Rodney?
Mhm.
And I think that's what the videos were about. It's like exploring who is Rodney Chrome and introducing Rodney Chrome to the world. So
Right.
hopefully we did that.
Right. In the 1.4 interview, you mentioned, the process of talking back and forth and, really creating these in-depth lookbooks. Can you tell me a little bit about the lookbooks? Because Pulpit is so, overflowing with this beautiful religious iconography. Like, how did you guys come up with that? What was the process like?
Yeah, totally. And we had like a couple months before we were gonna even film the projects or like even choose which song we're gonna do.
Mhm.
So we just had a long time to send music videos back and forth. We would send Instagram posts back and forth. I found Rodney Chrome's Pinterest board, and he didn't know it was public, but I found it, and I was able to like secretly go through it and tell him about it. And so it was a long process of just like getting inspiration and ideas and kind of creating like this common language between us that we could always
Mhm.
refer to this video and that video. And then I ended up making very specific two lookbooks for both videos, just
Mhm.
so because I knew Rodney, I needed Rodney to know exactly what I wanted because I needed to do it right for Rodney, and this
Mhm.
way, like Rodney and I were both on the same page throughout the whole process. Yeah.
Right, right. So being on the same page, and to you as well, Rodney, like how did you guys make sure, the queer theory from queer pressure was, carried throughout the entire production from the moment you started putting those lookbooks together to premiere?
Yeah. Um, so with that one, it was very impacted by the lyricism.
Okay.
So when you think about Pulpit, when you think about Five Stars, Premium Goods, everything that was released, it's like the words that are inside of these songs are not just filler lyrics.
Mm,
they all have a purpose, you know?
right.
So for the visuals, it was like, we want to see every aspect of what I'm talking about. So from, the men running up and down the stairs and like me dressed in like this elegant white gown. It's like all of these images are like embedded within side of the sound. And like also there was a scene where we shot where I'm sitting at the table with my mom and like I have Chick-fil-A fries and like that's what I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about. I don't really have shit. And it's like, because that's true.
Right.
I love Chick-fil-A. My mom is like my #1 fan. So it's like, these are things that are really relevant with inside of my lyrics. So that's kind of how we kept the theme of like driving. It's like, this is honestly what I'm talking about. A lot of other people are going through this. I'm not hyping up some fancy jewelry or like anything like this. Is stuff that we're really going through. So Zach really brought these visions to more so like a concrete stage. So,
Yeah, I love that sequence when you're with your mom and the lyric is like, psych, I ain't got shit, but I'm still a top pick. I love that. I think a lot of people can identify with it, and just goes to show that you might not have a lot of monetary funds, but the wealth of what you're speaking about is so incredibly rich. And I think y'all embodied that really well with the music video, because in the 1.4 interview, you also mentioned that you had a shoestring budget to work on, and that, Shane, who was the DP, had to line the walls with black trash bags, and the lighting was from flashlights, which I thought was so innovative. What was it like to kind of hustle and work with that shoestring budget?
It was fun. It's what I'm used to. It's all I've done. It really forced you to get really nitty gritty with everything. And I think we were really lucky. We had some amazing people on the team, like Shuni Chopadar, the producer. We had Lauren, our production designer. And it's just like these people really made everything come together in like 2 days of shooting. We shot 2 videos back to back. So it was a fun experience. And yeah, it was intense though, I have to say. I don't think Rodney or I slept that weekend at all for those 3 days but it was worth it. It was like there's great energy, when that is happening. It's just constant creating, it's constant togetherness. So that's quite amazing.
Yeah, it sounded like you guys really gelled as a team. And I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit more to the trust that you guys formed on set and the vibes and how important that was to you.
I'm a big vibe man, and I know Rodney is too. And one of the first things we talked about is like, if vibes aren't good on set, we're not like, this is not it for us. Like we have to have good vibes, and it's to the point where like I'm so grateful that people are working on this project for Rodney and for me, and that they're creating with us, and we're not paying them because we didn't have money to pay them. So I'm just so grateful for that I want to make sure everyone feels welcome and is having a good time. That I will sometimes spend too much time trying to make sure everyone feels comfortable than like working. And my AD, Gabby Zong, she'll always like slap me into place and be like, Zach, stop making jokes. Zach, stop talking to them. Zach, get back to work. And I think Rodney felt that too. I think, would you say, yeah?
Yeah. The whole time, we've had, Zach said, we had conversations where if I wanted to be on set with everybody on the crew or whatever, it was more so I wanted everybody to feel comfortable. If there was an issue, I told Zach, like, look, let's pull somebody to the side versus just doing it in front of people, because I've been on other sets where I knew that it just made other people feel uncomfortable. So that was one thing that I'm so glad that we were able to accomplish, is just everybody having a good time. So, yeah, with trust, I feel like it was just me trusting Zach with the people he knew, and then also Zach trusting me with like the photographers and people that I was bringing in, and dancers and stuff as well. So yeah.
And I oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
I think this whole process between Rodney and I had a lot of trust too. And I think, again, like that's why I think we're so lucky that we had so long building up to this moment. Like I think way longer than a normal music video would have, that we could just talk. And like I would ask Rodney to like write me a page worth of ideas or memories, whatever, and like I would just read them. And like 3/4 of them never made it to the video, but like I just felt a big responsibility to really understand who Rodney Chrome was and serve that purpose. So I think trust was huge in this whole process.
With the dancers, because you mentioned the dancers before, that choreography, first of all, was brilliant. Did you choreograph that yourself?
Yes.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. You guys were all in sync, and it really made sense narrative-wise. So I wanted to know, what was it like to choreograph that process? And is that something that you shared? You spoke about trust with Zach. Did you get his feedback on it? And then for Zach, in terms of shooting it, there were so many angles that y'all shot that from, and they were beautiful because they really pushed the narrative forward. How did you guys decide on what angles to do? Was it just trial error? I want to know everything.
I'll the first half of that. So me personally, I knew I wanted dance in pulpit, especially on that last section. So that was always like the vision to have some dancers in myself. So I found some and like did the choreography, and it just turned out so much nicer than what I envisioned. And so I don't even think me and Zach had really talked too much about the choreography. I think he
Mhm.
just kind of trusted me and like he's gonna kill it, I hope. And I think it just came out really beautifully. So I sent Zach a video of me and the dancers beforehand. And yeah, I think he just responded with good news and it was going for there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rodney sent me a video, I think it was like 2 days before, with him and one of the other dancers. So I didn't even see like the full 3-person dance. And
Mhm.
originally the dancing in my mind was half the time period of it was. I wanted to start it halfway through that sequence. At first, like be really small in his movements and then finally dance for like the final 15, 20 seconds of the song. But just getting there on set, we just decided like, no, like we want Rodney to like really show off his stuff. Like we should have a full dance sequence, as much more dancing the better. And someone that helped me with that decision was Shuni Chopra, the producer. He pulled me inside and was like, no one's gonna be mad about dancing. Like dance, like the way this dance is gonna look so good. So just let Rodney do his stuff.
Mhm.
And then for the camera angles, we really didn't have a lot of time to plan with
Mhm.
the shots. So we had, I think, 40 minutes and we just shot the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Like we just, like Shane, the cinematographer, would just run up and down. Who was like, okay, we should get from behind him now. We should get this. And we knew minor progressions in the song. Like I knew I wanted to cut to a wide at this point. But other than that, it was very much in Shane's hand. And we didn't have a monitor too. So it was just us crowding around like the camera and everyone trying to look at like the really small monitor. And it was fun. And also we had no idea how it was gonna look until we were done really. But we were all amazed in the moment, I feel like. And
Wow.
Rodney killed it. I have to say, like those dance moves are
We
amazing.
did.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely a pivotal moment. And just even with, dancing in front of the young child, like it was just so beautiful. And I feel like you have this duality, with the angles, the highs, the lows, you really embody being in the pulpit. So I actually want to know where does pulpit come from? How are you drawn to that? Because it's so interesting.
Yeah. So this is one of those things where I feel like some messages are just sent to you versus it just being, this is what I want to write about or, et cetera, et cetera. So with Pulpit, the producer underscores he had the beat and we were in my dorm and I was just writing. And I got to the last line before the big like chorus moment. And I said the pulpit line and it really started to like click like, okay, these bars are a little nice. And the message I was talking about was much bigger than what I thought. So it all kind of started to dwindle down into this like, I don't know, profession of like who I am. And it honestly just started to just unravel for itself. Like it wasn't a big intention or anything. It was just, I feel like whoever is higher up is always looking out for me as far as these messages. So yeah, it's fate.
Wow, it's incredible. And I feel like, I don't know, there's so many things that y'all put into the two videos and the album in general for you, Rodney. I want to know what your proudest moment from set is, or multiple proudest moments maybe.
Zach, you want to go?
Sure. Rodney kind of knows this moment. There's two moments. One was, the last shot we did was the shot with Rodney and his real mom sitting down at the table. That was after like 3 days. It was like straight shooting. And it was the funnest shot we had to get. And just like having that moment. And since it was the funnest shot, we kind of had like some time just to like do it again and do it again. And then we wrapped and I got to hug Rodney's mom.
Oh,
And then
that's
Rodney
so
was like, you're like a
sweet.
son. And then it was like it was just like it was like a beautiful way to end. I feel like the whole shoot and everything leading up to it was like that moment between Rodney and his mom.
Yeah.
And the other moment, sorry, Rodney, the other moment was, I remember, was on the rooftop shooting that rooftop shot of Rodney in his dress with the sky behind him. Rodney and I always talked about that being like the pivotal moment of the music video, and to finally like see it in the flesh, like actually happen, was such a cool experience. And I was like, okay, everything's gonna be okay. Like this is working.
Yeah. Okay, for me, I'm gonna say 2 as well, but I'm not gonna steal your 2 though. For me, it was, like I said before, with just being on set and everybody having like so much fun, but then also mutual respect for how much talent was in the room. But my second one is gonna be when it was our last day and we were at the apartment shooting up the stairs and stuff, but then Zach put out the camera and showed me the dance from the previous days for Pulpit. And because I had not seen the footage from that day at all. And so he had showed me it, and that's when I was like, okay, we might got one with this one. We might have one. Yeah.
I would get so excited about what we shot that I would like stay up like to very late after the shoot anyway, after getting home late, and just edit. Because I would had to see what we did, you know?
Wow.
So we shot the dance, and now we had like an edited version of the dance that was pretty similar to the final cut. And and then Eric Hart, one of the photographers that we had on set, he's amazing, actually filmed me showing it to you, Rodney.
Yeah.
And that's something cool to watch.
That is in the behind the scenes footage.
Yeah.
It was really, really sweet. Actually, I want to ask about that. How was it to have behind the scenes footage? You know, somebody, you know, kind of coming around, capturing the moment. You know, was it like a really like cheerful experience where it's like, wow, like I have somebody like, you know, egging me on, like hyping me up? Like, was it that type of energy?
For this one specific, as like a student of music, I love behind the scenes footage, and just like you can see what goes into the process of your favorite artist, whether they're big or small. It's just like studying how they operate is so huge for me. But for Eric specifically, like he's my best friend. He had to go home for I think some type of a family event, and he came back a day early and changed his flight just to be on the behind the scenes and there for me on Pulpit. And that type of friendship is like what I didn't even expect that, because for me, he knows how much I love to do what I do. And he is like my number one supporter right behind my mom. So for him to take those steps and change his flight to not only shoot the behind the scenes, but to be right there to cheer me on, it just seriously made the last day like the best moment for me. So.
Wow.
And can I also say, Rhea, she shot the dance sequence, the second half of Pulpit. She's like so talented, and the photos we got from her, they look like it was just her shoot, and she was doing a photo shoot for Rodney.
Right.
So I think it was insane that we got like, I think the two most talented photographers I can think of on our set, helping out and just collaborating with us.
Wow. And what was that like to have still photographers on set? You know, how did you negotiate your time between, you know, directing what they were doing, but also being in the physical space with the actors and taking, you know, steps in and out of that space?
Oh, sorry, Rodney.
No, go ahead.
What's really amazing about everyone on the team, including photographers Eric and Rhea, and just like the production designer Lauren, and everyone in between, the gaffer, was that everyone's so talented that I really didn't have to dedicate my time to them too much, you know. Everyone was really on board on the vision, so I could just kind of free float around as much as I wanted to, and we really had to like streamline the process because we didn't have a lot of time. So I'm really thankful that everyone was like on their A game, and it was again a lot of trust, I feel like, between everyone just to do it.
Right.
Rodney?
Yeah. Also, like I said, going back to like this trust thing, I know Zach trusts his friends when we're talking about who's going to be on set. And I feel like Zach trusted me when, you know, I'm talking about who I have on set, like the photographers that we're thinking about having at this specific location. So I feel like it was just a moment of like, we know we're all very talented in our areas. So I don't think it was too much of like, we have to make sure you know, one person is getting this angle of this shot, but we just knew that everybody could pull through.
That's great. That's great. I specifically want to ask, again, because I love musicians, but also I really love rappers. And I think it's because I have a deep love of poetry, and rappers present poetry in this interesting way. During your, you know, you have a dossier of how Queer Pressure was made. And I watched, you know, an episode of that. And there's this moment where you're going through, you know, your bars in your head, and you're just trying to get the lyrics. And you can see that you're pushing yourself. You can definitely see that. And I wanted to know, as you're coming up with the lyrics, were you pocketing some of the images? Were there any images coming to your mind that you were just filing it away?
Yeah, no, so I'm a very visual orientated artist. And so whenever I am, you know, writing or thinking about some specific wordplay, it's like, how would visually this come up in either someone's mind or even on paper when I want to do a video for it? So it's like, for that specific song, I think it was Problem Child. Like, I know I was really thinking about that song because I really had to be honest about the lyrics, but not in a way where it was cringy or like I felt uncomfortable listening to it. So yeah, with me working through like melodies and stuff, it's really interesting because I always want to make sure that listeners can get the visual representation that I'm putting forth with my wordplay. So that's something that I really hold dear to me. But yeah, that's kind of how the process went with that one.
And I noticed, well, first let me ask Zach, you said that you edited the piece yourself, correct?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, you know, there is this rhythm to Rodney's work that's completely matched in the visual. The visual has its own rhythm that matches, or not even match, but complements, because it does go against in this way, but not, you know, it's not disruptive. I wanted to know, in the editing room, how are you matching that rhythm? How are you like going through those beats and finding the sequences?
Yeah, good question. I feel like a lot of the editing happened before we even shot it. It was like I feel like, especially for Pulpit, like I knew most of the cuts that were going to happen. The most creative I could be with the editing was in the opening sequence with like all the arms and the abstractness, and in the dance sequence just with like which angle I could cut to, you know, because I was all about performance and making sure it hit. And even like, and like you get a bit blind to it, so like I always ask opinions, and like it would be like 2 frames, like just change it this way, change it that way. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it just worked out because I think we planned for it so well. So I think the editing was done in pre-production, really.
Okay. Yeah. So there are so many messages in both Five Stars and Pulpit. What would be the one message, you know, you would have your viewers take away? If you could choose one.
The one thing that I want viewers to take away is there's so many hidden gems within these songs. Like, I'm gonna say that first off. So there's so many things that you can kind of like dip and dab from. But me particularly, my main thing is trying to find just a little piece of like who you are in yourself within my music. Like, if you can find, if it's confidence, if it's, I don't know what's going on in my life, I know I'm still broke, but even I have a relatability to this artist on this other part of the screen. It's like just knowing that you're not by yourself with any of this stuff, and know that people like myself, especially a queer Black male, is understanding of everyone, you know, within the vicinity of my community. So that's the main thing that I want people to take away from when they hear my music and see my visuals.
What about you, Zach?
I think the big conversation I think of making these videos was like, who is Rodney Chrome? So I especially with Pulpit, the first release with his new name and this album, I wanted to make sure that people would know Rodney Chrome, like who is Rodney Chrome, and like you have to look out for him. Like this is someone that you're going to be messing with. So I want to make sure I did him justice in all those departments. So yeah, that was my takeaway. Hopefully people took away a bit of Rodney Chrome after they finished watching the video.
Yeah, I think we definitely did. I did, for sure. And I want to see more. I can't wait to see what's coming next.
Oh, of course.
That's something I do want to ask. What's next on, you know, your roster for both of you?
I feel Zach, I want you to go first.
No, no, no. We'll be it's a crazy time
Yeah.
of limbo, so hopefully I can still direct and keep making projects, and hopefully Rodney and I can rekindle that third single maybe one day. We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. I'm getting vibes.
I'm in the same boat. It's definitely like a very tricky time with everything going on. But luckily, we are still finding like ways to create with all of our friends, and I I couldn't be happier with the way that things have already panned out. So I'm still like living in this moment of like soaking it all in because we worked for a very long time in this project, but you know, as creators, we always have to keep going. So definitely are having a few things in the works, but you know, we just have to look out. Have to look out.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely keep our eye on you, both of you. Yeah.
Yes.
But Rodney especially. But Rodney
What is
especially.
that especially?
No, Rodney.
No, what is that?
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining. It was really nice speaking to both of you.
Thank you so much for having us, really.
Yes.
Thank
All
you.
right.